You believe your choices are your own, that your ambition, your career, even your deepest sense of right and wrong, are all products of your own free will. You choose your clothes, your politics, your beliefs. You're the captain of your soul, the master of your fate. You feel free, but what if that feeling of freedom is the most sophisticated tool of control ever designed? What if the very architecture of your desires, the moral compass you trust, was installed by an invisible hand, not for your benefit, but for its own? This isn't some back-alley conspiracy theory. It's a philosophical diagnosis. Over a century ago, one thinker pulled back the curtain on this grand performance. He was a man who dared to look into the abyss of human society and report back on the monsters he found there. His name was Friedrich Nietzsche, and his message is more relevant and terrifying today than it has ever been. He revealed that modern society, in its relentless march toward order and progress, has zero interest in creating free individuals. It has one, and only one, demand of you: be useful, be productive, be predictable, be manageable, be a cog, a very efficient, very obedient, and very deluded cog in a machine you didn't build and whose purpose you were never meant to question. This is the story of how that machine was built, how it runs on your compliance, and how the first act of real rebellion is just to see it for what it is, the revelation, the prophet of the cage. To understand this invisible prison, we first need to understand the man who drew us the map. Friedrich Nietzsche was not a feel-good philosopher. He didn't serve up easy answers or comforting platitudes. He was a doctor of culture, and his diagnosis was grim. He looked at the booming societies of 19th century. Europe's societies getting more democratic, more industrial, more civilized, and he didn't see progress. He saw a slick new form of domestication. He saw humanity being systematically tamed. Nietzsche proposed that every society is shaped by an unspoken war between two types of morality. The first he called master morality. This is the worldview of the noble, the strong, the creator of values. For the master, good is just a word for their own existence. Good is what is powerful, life-affirming, and beautiful. It flows from a surplus of strength. The master doesn't ask for permission. They define good by what they do and who they are. Bad in this system is an afterthought. It's what's weak, common, and clumsy. Not evil, just beneath notice. But then, Nietzsche argued, something incredible happened. The weak, the oppressed, the masses, the slaves grew to resent the masters. They didn't have the power to win on the battlefield. So they launched what Nietzsche called the most brilliant act of spiritual revenge in history: the slave revolt in morality. They couldn't be strong, so they made weakness a virtue. They couldn't get revenge, so they preached forgiveness. They were forced to be humble, so they called humility a choice. They couldn't be powerful, so they damned the powerful as evil. And just like that, slave morality was born. The entire value system gets flipped on its head. Good is now everything that soothes the suffering and the powerless: pity, kindness, humility, patience, and above all, obedience. And evil, that's everything the master was: pride, strength, ambition, and self-love. This morality, Nietzsche argued, isn't born from a place of yes, it's born from a bitter, reactive no to everything it isn't. It doesn't say, I am good. It says, you are evil, therefore I must be good. Here's Nietzsche's terrifying diagnosis. Modern Western society is the grand triumph of this slave morality. We live in a world built on the values of the herd. Our institutions, our politics, our very idea of a good person are all designed to praise the qualities of the managed, the tame, the useful herd animal. The system is so total that we don't even see the bars of the cage anymore. We've been trained to love our own domestication, the agitation, deconstructing the moral cage. So how does this grand domestication play out in the 21st century? How are you? Day by day, shaped to be useful, instead of free. The machinery is so pervasive, it's become invisible. Like the air you breathe, let's make it visible. Section 1. The training ground. Our educational system. Think back to your first day of school. What were the most important lessons? Was it the joy of fearless inquiry, the thrill of independent thought, or was it to sit down, be quiet, and raise your hand for permission to speak. The modern education system wasn't born from a desire to create free thinkers. It was an invention of the industrial age, designed for the needs of factories and bureaucracies. It needed a workforce that was punctual, compliant, and could follow instructions. The school bell wasn't just a call to learn, it was a rehearsal for the factory whistle. Nietzsche saw the beginnings of this over a century ago. He criticized the German education system, Bildung, for losing its soul. Its purpose was once the cultivation of true character and critical thinking. Instead, he saw it becoming a tool of the state and the economy, driven by two ruinous goals: to expand education as widely as possible, and in doing so to weaken and narrow what was taught. It became about mass-producing specialists and functionaries, not cultured, independent human beings. It prized rapid learning for a job over the slow, patient cultivation of an intellect. Today, that system has been perfected. Look at the classroom, rows of desks, facing one authority figure. That's not a setup for discovery. It's a design for the efficient download of approved information. The curriculum is standardized, a one-size-fits-all model that tells every student there is one correct path. Success isn't measured by the quality of your questions, but by your ability to regurgitate the right answers. The system teaches you what to think, not how to think. It rewards conformity and punishes deviation. The kid who questions the teacher's premise is a disruption. The student with a passion that doesn't fit a subject is told to get serious and focus on what matters. You learn to outsource your judgment to an authority, to wait for the textbook to tell you the truth. Nietzsche believed true education meant learning to see, to resist the immediate answer, to postpone judgment, to look at a problem from all sides. Our system does the exact opposite. The psychological effect is profound. After more than a decade of this, you're conditioned to see your own mind, not as a sovereign territory but as a bucket to be filled. It instills a deep-seated need for approval and a fear of being wrong. You aren't being educated, you are being processed. You're being shaped into a reliable component for the economic machine. The system doesn't want a philosopher who might question the whole game. It wants an engineer who can make the gears turn faster. It wants you to be useful. Section 2. The modern pasture. The 9-to-5 work culture. After years of conditioning, you graduate into the next phase of domestication, the modern workplace. The 9-to-5, 5-day work week is not a law of nature. It's a cultural invention, a powerful tool for funneling the vast majority of your life's energy, your most creative and vibrant hours into the goals of someone else. Nietzsche never saw a modern office park, but he was fiercely critical of the modern work ethic. He saw the relentless, stupidly proud busyness of his era as a major obstacle to any kind of deep self-development. It leaves you with no time, and more importantly, no energy, for the hard work of creating yourself. You get home exhausted, your willpower drained, and you collapse in front of a screen, seeking a numb escape from the vague feeling of a life unlived. He argued that concepts like the dignity of work were just phantom ideas, created by a slave class to hide their own condition from themselves. The corporate world is a masterclass in herd management. It runs on a clear hierarchy, reinforcing the obedience you learned in school. You have a boss, a manager, a chain of command. Your value is measured by your utility to the organization. Are you a team player? That's often code for, are you agreeable, compliant, and unlikely to cause trouble? Even the language is a form of control. We talk about human resources, a term that reduces living people to a line item, like machinery or capital. We're told to find our passion within the narrow confines of a corporate mission statement, to merge our identity with a brand. The company doesn't just buy your time, it tries to buy your soul. The 9-to-5 is more than a schedule. It's a rhythm that domesticates the spirit. It limits your exposure to risk, to spontaneity, to the terrifying freedom of an unstructured day. It ensures that the lion's share of your will to power is outsourced, rented, and put in the service of a system that sees you not as an end, but as a means. It needs you to be a reliable, industrious, and above all, useful employee. Section 3. The moral compass of the herd. Goodness as control. This is maybe Nietzsche's most radical and unsettling idea. What if everything you've been taught about being a good person is a systemic lie designed to ensure social order at the expense of individual greatness? As we covered, Nietzsche argued that modern morality is the victory of slave morality. Let's look at the virtues it holds up. Humility, pity, obedience, self-sacrifice. Why these? From the perspective of a system managing millions, what kind of person is easiest to govern? A proud, ambitious individual who questions authority, or a humble, obedient person who prioritizes the group and feels guilty for asserting their own will? It's obvious. The values of slave morality are the values of maximum utility and minimum trouble. They are the ethics of the herd. The humility and self-denial. You're taught that it's virtuous to downplay your strengths. Why? Because pride is dangerous to the status quo. A person with immense self-worth might decide they deserve more, or that the rules don't apply to them. Humility keeps you in your place. Pity and compassion. Nietzsche saw the elevation of pity as deeply life-denying. While it sounds noble, he argued that pity perpetuates weakness and is hostile to greatness. Greatness, for Nietzsche, requires struggle, hardship, and overcoming pain. By trying to eliminate all discomfort, we create a world of last men, people who seek only comfort and security, incapable of creating anything magnificent. Obedience. This is the cornerstone of usefulness. Obey your parents, obey your teachers, obey the law, obey your boss. Unquestioning obedience is praised as discipline, while disobedience is framed as arrogance. But obedience is just the outsourcing of your own judgment to an external authority. A society of obedient citizens is stable and predictable. It's also a society of spiritual slaves. This herd morality is so effective because it's internalized. It's not just rules enforced by the police. It becomes your conscience. You feel guilt when you're selfish. You feel shame when you're proud. You feel anxious when you disobey. Society has recruited your own mind to be its jailer. It's convinced you that the traits that make you manageable are the same traits that make you good. It doesn't need to force you to be useful. It has made you want to be useful because you believe usefulness and righteousness are the same thing. Section 4. The gilded cage, the illusion of consumer choice. You might be thinking, this isn't me. Look at all my choices. You can choose from 100 brands of cereal, 1,000 shows to stream, 1,000,000 products to buy. This feeling of boundless choice is one of the most brilliant deceptions of the modern age. Society creates a spectacle of superficial freedom to distract you from your lack of fundamental freedom. You can choose what to buy, but can you choose not to participate in the economic system that demands you sell your labor to live? You can pick your smartphone, but can you choose to live in a society that isn't increasingly built on surveillance and data harvesting? You can express any opinion online, but can you opt out of the attention economy designed to manipulate your emotions? This is the genius of the system. It satisfies your hunger for autonomy with a buffet of meaningless choices. Consumerism becomes how we express ourselves. We think we're building a unique identity through our brands and our purchases, but really, we're just choosing from a pre-approved menu of identities, all of which fuel the same engine of economic growth. Your very desires are manufactured. Advertising doesn't just sell you products, it sells you inadequacy. It creates problems you didn't know you had, just so it can sell you the cure. This endless cycle of desire and fleeting satisfaction keeps you distracted and working. Nietzsche didn't live to see targeted ads, but he would have instantly recognized this dynamic. He'd see it as another form of the herd's desperate search for comfort and distraction. It's a flight from the difficult internal work of self-creation into the easy external world of acquisition. It's easier to buy a new identity than to forge one. The illusion of choice is a sedative. It keeps the population calm and busy. By giving you absolute control over the trivial, society ensures you won't question its control over the essential. You're kept busy rearranging the furniture in your cell, admiring the new colors you can paint the walls, never realizing you are, and have always been, in a prison. Section 5. The coldest of all cold monsters, the state and bureaucracy. Beyond culture and economics stands the most explicit agent of order, the state. Nietzsche had a profound distrust for the state, which he famously called the coldest of all cold monsters. He saw it as an impersonal machine that grinds down individuality in the name of security. The modern state, with its endless web of laws and regulations, is the ultimate expression of the drive to make humanity manageable. It doesn't see you as a unique individual. It sees you as a statistic, a taxpayer, a citizen with a number. It operates on the logic of a spreadsheet, where everyone must be categorized and controlled for the system to work. Think of the processes that define your official life: birth certificates, tax codes, licenses. These are all tools for making you legible to the state. They turn the messy reality of your life into neat data points. This isn't necessarily evil, but it is dehumanizing. It reinforces the idea that your identity is something granted by an external authority. The state's primary concern is stability. It hates dissent and radical individualism, the very qualities Nietzsche thought were necessary for human greatness. It enforces a universal code of conduct, the law, which by its nature must treat everyone the same, ignoring the vast differences in individual potential. This push for equality, Nietzsche argued, is a hallmark of herd morality, a way to make sure no one rises too far above the rest. The state tells you what it means to be a good citizen, which in practice usually means an obedient and tax-paying one. When the state becomes the ultimate judge of value, individual conscience dies. People become cogs in a political machine. It creates a population that is easy to lead, easy to mobilize, and easy to control. A population that is eminently useful. But it comes at the cost of the one thing that truly matters: the emergence of the free, self-governing individual. The solution: the path to freedom. After a diagnosis this bleak, it's easy to feel hopeless. If the cage is this big, this built into our world and our own minds, is there any way out? For Nietzsche, the answer is yes. But freedom isn't a gift. It's not handed to you by a politician or a new app. It has to be earned. It is a personal war waged against the forces of domestication, both outside and inside of you. The path isn't easy, but it starts with a few crucial steps. Step 1. Awareness. Seeing the bars of the cage. The first, most critical step is simply to see. To become aware of the forces that have shaped you. You can't escape a prison you don't know you're in. This entire deconstruction is that first step. It is the act of turning the lights on in your own mind and really looking at the architecture of your beliefs. Start questioning everything. Ask yourself, why do I believe this is good? Why do I want this specific thing? Is this my ambition, or was it planted there? Where did my definition of success come from? My idea of happiness? This process can be scary. It can feel like the ground is falling out from under you. To realize that many of your core beliefs are not your own, but are inherited, second-hand values, is a shock. But this shock is necessary. It's the start of real autonomy. Nietzsche had a line for this: the snake which cannot cast its skin has to die. As well, the minds which are prevented from changing their opinions, they cease to be mind. Step 2. The revaluation of all values. Forging your own morality. Once you see the cage of herd morality, the next step is the hard work of building your own value system. Nietzsche called this the revaluation of all values. It is the boldest act of freedom a person can undertake. This doesn't mean becoming a criminal or rejecting all norms just for the hell of it. That's just childish rebellion. True freedom isn't about being against the herd. It's about being for yourself. It's about becoming your own lawgiver. You must decide for yourself what is truly valuable. Is it strength, creativity, security, authenticity? There's no universal answer. For Nietzsche, a higher morality is custom fit to the individual and their potential. The goal is to create values that say yes to your life and help you become the greatest possible version of yourself. This might mean embracing what society calls selfish. Nietzsche argued that a severe self-love is essential for growth. You have to learn to be responsible to yourself and to become indifferent to the herd's approval or disapproval. True morality isn't about being useful to others. It's about being true to the project of your own becoming. Step 3. Small acts of rebellion. Practicing freedom. Freedom is a muscle. If you don't use it, it withers. You can't wait for some grand, revolutionary moment. You have to start now, with the small daily choices you make. These are your acts of spiritual resistance. Reclaim your time and attention. Your attention is your most valuable asset. Stop giving it away so cheaply. Carve out time for deep, unproductive thought. Go for a walk without your phone. Read a difficult book. Sit in silence. Resist the modern cult of busyness that drains your will. This isn't laziness. It's the sacred work of building an inner life. Question common sense. The herd's values are often disguised as common sense. When you hear, well, everyone knows that, or that's just how things are, let that be a red flag. Challenge it. Ask why. Be willing to hold an opinion that's unpopular. Pursue a useless passion. Do something you love, for no reason, other than that you love it. Something with no monetary value, no career prospects. Learn a dead language, paint, study the stars. This is a powerful act of defiance against the tyranny of utility. It's a declaration that your life has a purpose beyond being an economic unit. Define success on your own terms. Reject the pre-packaged definitions. Maybe for you, success isn't a corner office, but a life of travel. Maybe it isn't a huge salary, but having the time to pursue your art. You must master the courage to write your own scorecard for life, and then be the only judge that matters. These small acts aren't just gestures, they are training. They build the mental habits and the strength of will you need for a life of freedom. They slowly untangle you from the invisible strings of social control. We've journeyed into the heart of a profound and disturbing idea, that the society we live in, the culture that raised us, is not fundamentally interested in our freedom. It's interested in our utility. It has built a world that rewards obedience and punishes dissent. A world that tames us through its schools, its jobs, and its moral codes. It praises the manageable and casts suspicion on the unique. It has given you 1,000 superficial choices, so you never have to make the one choice that matters. The choice to be the author of your own soul. But seeing this system isn't a reason for despair. It's a call to arms. It's an invitation. Nietzsche's philosophy is not a pessimistic dead end. It's a declaration of war on mediocrity and a testament to human potential. Seeing the cage is the first, essential step to finding the door. Society doesn't want you free. It wants you useful. But you weren't born to be a cog. You weren't born to be a herd animal, seeking only comfort and safety. You were born with the potential for greatness, to create your own values and live a life that is a work of art. The question is no longer if you're in a cage. The question is, now that you can see the bars, do you have the courage to walk out? If this message resonated with the part of you that refuses to be tamed, subscribe to Psychonic for more ideas that challenge the conventional narrative. The path to freedom is a difficult one, and it is best not walked alone. Share this with someone you think has the strength to hear it. And in the comments below, tell us one common sense belief you are now willing to question. The conversation starts here.